Well, hello there and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for March 5th, the day of heaven and hell. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of heaven and hell. We have us what appears to be, it's some kind of blossom atop some branches or boughs of something prickly like, say, a cactus. All right, and what does that remind me of? Well, I would say the Joshua tree. And which is interesting about the Joshua tree, it's said to only grow in two places, the gates of heaven and the gates of hell, but also in Jerusalem and the Mojave Desert, where Marine Corps Air Station, Air Ground Command Control Station 29 Palms is. I'm probably getting that wrong. MAGTAV or whatever it was called. I was stationed there, I would know. So that said, the internal joke there was if the Joshua tree only grows in two places here on Earth and in the metaphysical areas, I'm wondering which one is hell. That's right. It's probably not Israel. That's right. So that said, does that speak to the day of heaven and hell? Hey, who's to say? We have to make some connotations. There's an interesting one if you like, though I'm sure the authors didn't know as much. That said, visual representational image aside, not altogether all too important. But what is important is it's March 5th, and hence it's somebody's birthday. So if your birthday is March 5th, wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important around these here parts. That's it. If you're just here to join us randomly to find out all about March 5th, or maybe you're here to celebrate, hey, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, which I will in due time, something I like to take a few minutes to do is roll some dice. That's right. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake by doing as much, but I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And that was kind of a dice drop. Let's get a roll in there. That's better. All right, I got us a 5 and a 1 for a 6. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, as I hear it told, the universe, the higher powers that be, will oftentimes put things in our path to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. And oftentimes, we got the blinders on to what's going on around us, so we may not be apt to pick up on such signs, if you like. So this is a little bit of an exercise to take those blinders off and start seeing the things the universe may be putting in our path. How do we recognize such things? Well, we need some kind of a sign that's mutually agreed upon between us and the universe. That's right. Your daily numbers there. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there. That said, it's probably advisable to get your own set of dice so you can ascribe directional values and time limits to number sets. That's right. So you're essentially letting the universe take the wheel and guide you on some kind of journey. That said, once you've figured all that out, pick out a spot that's near and dear to your heart, or perhaps some place you haven't explored before. I often like to say the town square or main street, so let's go with the town square, all right? You set off, but like I said, get those blinders off, all right? You want to make sure you're taking everything in around you like a sponge. The day might start to take on a little bit of a theme, all right? Let's take the visual representational image, for instance. You might start to see like cactus-like plants just kind of cropping up everywhere in your day. Otherwise, things you wouldn't have noticed before, all right? And maybe they're just not there, they're only there temporarily, say. Maybe you pass by a storefront, hey, they got a cactus in the window. Or you pass by a travel agency, boom, they got a big old picture of a Joshua tree in front of a sunset. All right, I know it's a little on the nose, but hey, you know what? That's just kind of what the randomness angle is there. You got to be on the lookout for such things. It could be just about anything, all right? That said, let's say this first directional value time limit, you're not really seeing much of anything. I would say just take it in stride. You're out there getting your steps in at the very least. But you know what? Maybe step back. Take in your environment. See what you see, all right? Also with the randomness, you might just see something on a bus advertisement there, a billboard if you like, or a mural on the side of a building. So, hey, maybe you just so happen to notice while you're looking for these murals that you just so happen to be on a 6th Avenue. That's right, all right? Something small like that can help affirm you're on the right path. Maybe no sooner do you get ready to roll your dice, the old number 6 bus pulls up. Or maybe it's the 15. I don't know. Any kind of incorporation of those numbers, I would argue, is a sign, if you like. So get on the bus if you like. Maybe you just so happen to have perfect change to ride, all right? And maybe you roll yourself a time value. And find, let's go with the 6 again. 6 minutes are up. Hey, you come up to the next stop. Again, maybe it's the number 6 stop. Things just lining up like that. That said, maybe that's not the case. Maybe you get off the bus, you're not noticing anything that stands out. Hey, you know what? Maybe everything's just real blasé. People wearing, I don't know, just down in the dumps kind of colors around. But then maybe somebody pops out in the crowd and they're wearing like a hot pink shirt or like a fur mink coat. I would say take such things as an anomaly and roll yourself a pair of dice. There, your dice there, all right? And use such things as a sign, a little white rabbit to follow if you like, and see where they might happen to lead you. But just like a real rabbit, don't spook them, all right? They may be apt to deviate their course. But you know what? If somebody confronts you about as much, hey, just show them the dice, show them this video, let them know what you're doing. It's my birthday. I'm out here trying to stack up some coincidence or some synchronicity here. I'm trying to have some fun, let the universe speak to me. They might just be apt to say, that's absolutely crazy. And you're like, yeah, I know, it's new to me too. And they go, yeah, that aspect of it as well. But what's even crazier is it's my birthday too. That's right. Hey, it might be something as synchronistic as that. I often use that example, but I think it seems so weird, so what do you call it? Something that wouldn't happen out there in the world, but it's not beyond the realm of nonfiction there, if you like. So my words escaping me. Hey, I think you get the idea of what synchronicity is. And if somebody's apt to join you on your journey, whether it's their birthday or not, that's great, because as I've heard it told, the more people focus on the same thing, you're apt to beget greater results. So get out there, stack up some synchronicities, some coincidences if you like, all right? And you're just so apt to see the magic that I'm trying to push out there on you, all right? So I think you get the idea. Let's get on with the birthday read. Your month is March, your day is the 5th, your sign is 13 to 15 degrees Pisces of the Pisces II period specifically, and your quality and elements is mutable water. All right, March 5th, the day of heaven and hell. All right, those born on March 5 usually have two distinct sides to their personality. To the world, they may appear debonair and charming, sophisticated, as well as kind and considerate, while inside they are grappling with their personal dramas. Extremely secretive, they can be quite different people in private and are prone to expressing dark feelings and emotions. Productive and creative individuals born on this day are usually able to express both sides of their nature in their work without contradiction or fear of censure. And problems can arise for them in their personal lives, which are often not only stormy, but sometimes destructive as well. Deep individuals, March 5 people are in touch with the whole spectrum of human emotions, which they themselves express at one time or another. They also have a way of bringing out both the best and the worst in others. Through piercing insight, those born on this day can expose weaknesses, deficiencies, and insecurities of others with great impact. And this is largely because March 5 mental and emotional sensitivities are equally developed. Not surprisingly, those born on this day seem to live life more intensely than others. They also remain open to a wider variety of experiences than most people can handle. It is as if the colors on their palette are a little brighter, the highlights and shadows on their canvas more contrasted. And at times, March 5 people can be logical and emotionally objective, other times passionate and perhaps irrational, overwhelming people with their intensity. And all of this can happen in a short space of just a few minutes or even seconds. Others may wonder how one person can be so mutable and adaptable to circumstances. Because they often have a high turnover rate in interpersonal relationships, March 5 people can come to feel somewhat alone in the world. They may even begin to wonder if they will ever find the right person for them. And those that come to realize that it is their own difficult nature that is the source of their dissatisfaction stand a good chance of making needed changes. And such March 5 people can find great joy in simplifying their emotional life. Keeping on a more even keel and integrating the diverse aspects of their personality is a daunting but greatly rewarding task for March 5 people. And it may be true that the friction generated by their internal struggle fires their creative engines. And therefore, some born on this day may fear that by becoming more regular or normal, they will dull their cutting edge. Perhaps it is a question of what value they place on happiness. And developing a highly attuned awareness of their effort on others is essential for March 5 people, cultivating the more unselfish side of their ego and perhaps submitting to some higher spiritual power, focusing on simple acts of kindness in everyday life, makes life easier for themselves and those around them. Well, all right, quite the interesting breakdown today. Pretty thorough, too, I would say, in its length and depth. Pretty dense there, if you like. That said, it was pretty narrowly focused on these aspects of your nature, even though they expanded out in that respect. That said, I mention that because a lot of times these birthday breakdowns will be really well rounded out to say they talk about what you may be like as parents, siblings, maybe even have advice for parents of people born on the day. Here, none of that really presented, but they did kind of go into, what your relationships may be like, etc. But again, it was pretty rather narrowly focused, so I just kind of like to bring that up so you know the dynamics that are in the book, if you like. That said, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, drum up some, not coincidences, but things that are similar within the period, and also maybe things that are starkly different, and things I found interesting. So let's dive into it, shall we? March 5th, the day of heaven and hell. You're said to possess two distinct sides of your personality, and you may see the world as considerate and charming, or you may be seen by the world as much, rather, but you're also maybe battling personal demons. And though that seems to be a bit disconnected to the leading statement, in my opinion. Regardless, you're said to be secretive and prone to the expression of dark feelings and emotions. The likes of which I'm assuming leads to this claim that the personal life can be rather stormy and sometimes destructive. But having said that, I'd argue it's this very facet which allows you to be the deep individuals in touch with the whole spectrum of human emotion. Ostensibly those willing to swim to the side of the pool where the bottom drops out and where the optimist doesn't dare like to swim. Let alone plumb the depths of, all right? You may be the kind of sort of person who wants to go down to the very bottom to see that they can touch the grill where the water gets recirculated, right? I don't know. This is kind of a metaphor I drilled down on. That said, we're going to lose it with the... but if these depths in these depths, fears and anxieties can be confronted, I would say, all right? And with this form of gumption, you're said to have a way of bringing out the best and the worst in people as well. And it's this emotional resolve that allows you to see and expose the likes of weakness and insecurity in others, ostensibly because you have access and experience with those same said issues, I'm assuming. And the reading goes on to relate that you seem to live life more intensely than others, and so you're also open to maybe taking things from the pool out to the open ocean, all right? Where not just treasure resides, but monsters lurk, I would say, within the metaphor there. Metaphorically or otherwise, too. But interestingly, the reading claims you may vacillate in your comportment or your behavior to, say, swing between, logically minded to then emotionally objective. Though I'm not quite sure what emotionally objective means because I think the two are like a little bit of a obverse dynamic there, interestingly enough. Having said that, they say that you may overwhelm people in this respect, which makes a fair amount of sense, I would say. They can't really pin you down because you're off to the other thing already, all right? It's also probably difficult to get a decent read on you because of that. You outside of just chalking you up to being unpredictable, all right? All this taken into account, I could understand why there may be a high churn rate with relationships, as they said. Whether it's you being dismissed or doing the dismissing, it isn't said. but I could see how both realities may exist. But I would say all the recommendations and considerations rather lent to the recommendations of the breakdown are some of the more fascinating as well as valuable to lend credence. All right, so even if it's just a passing or vacillating credence. All right, they were talking about the unselfish side of the ego, all of that. Yeah, I thought they lent a lot of value to the things they recommended for you in order to try and maybe balance out those particular natures. So very interesting, fascinating breakdown today. It's not often that we see such different dynamics, or two sides of a coin, if you like, and then somebody who's just flipping them all the time, and it's always in the air. But having said that, I think you get the idea. So let's dive in more with your numbers and your planets. That's right. Let's get into some numerology and astrology, if you like. More so the astrology. They don't often bring up the numerology, but maybe they will today. Let's just see. Those born on the 5th of the month are ruled by the number 5 in the speedy planet Mercury, which represents quickness of thought and change. And since Neptune rules Pisces, March 5 people come under the combined influence of Mercury and Neptune, which tends to make them very sensitive to colors, sounds, and smells, and expressive of what they feel. And some born on this day may live in an unstable emotional world in which they can periodically flip from the angelic to the demonic. And whatever pitfalls number 5 people encounter, they usually recover quickly, which generally holds true for those born on March 5. All right, this was a highly personalized numbers and planets entry. Sometimes it's just a copy-paste job of different various elements, or a copy-paste job altogether. Not here for you. They really dove into the details there. It wasn't even that sparse of an entry, but I say that too because this period has seen some pretty sparse entries. That said, let's dive in with what I had to say about your numbers and your planets. All right, the number 5 in the speedy planet Mercury for quickness of thought and change. And if there were any other day, based on what we found out in the breakdown, I'd say it hits so many of the various boxes for the Mercury checklist. So this is the day of Mercury, I would say, in those respects, even if realized of its own unique way. They're not all the same. Sometimes you're hitting certain check boxes, but it's in different, unique, vacillating ways. So I would say you hit all those boxes, but you're wholly unique in that respect, if you weren't picking up on me saying it the 9th time. The only aspect not really relayed would be a love for puzzles and games that's mentioned elsewhere in the book. I don't know if I remember ever coming across that particular dynamic, but I find it interesting as it's so different, so I wanted to bring it up for you. Maybe it applies. Maybe you like puzzles and games, and if that's the case, hey, yet another Mercury box checked, right? That said, the added influence of Neptune, the ruler of dreams and visions, is often, it leads to a concern for higher ideals, romanticism, and in this period, a commitment to a cause. Here for you, though, it said it may make you sensitive to your senses and your emotions. So it's a little bit more individually fixated there, I would say. Not necessarily being selfish, but it's the powers come down to focus on you specifically a little bit more, otherwise than going through you to focus on a higher cause, if you like. And that's been a little bit of a dynamic shift here that's come up in the Pisces II period. Whereas Pisces I, it seemed like everybody was committed to a cause, aside from their own particular goings-on, or individualism, if you like. That said, you may be sensitive to your emotions and senses, like they said, which I've seen maybe twice before, all right, especially in the past few periods. So it's pretty novel in those respects, and certainly rare. But this flipping from angel to demon, I don't know if I've seen that before, so that's pretty interesting. Especially in this period, I haven't seen it. So if it's not novel, it's very rare. Quick recovery, however, pretty part and parcel for a Mercury day. Often gets brought up. Also, what was the other thing there? Quickness for thought and change. Boilerplate Mercury. So, any event, Neptune may be coming in to make all these dynamics particularly unique to you, causing all of those vacillations, if you like. Considering Mercury's that quick planet, maybe it's just shaking that dynamic up in a really unique way and lending to being the day of heaven and hell for you. All right. That said, hopefully you took a little bit of value outside of the value they imparted. Before we move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. Hey, it's here in the book. We don't have to take it home with us when we're done with it. We can just leave it here in the book, but sometimes it lends a little bit more credence to the things that we've seen in the breakdown. Sometimes not, but we'll have to dive in and see. All right, here we go. The fifth card of the major arcana is the Hierophant, an interpreter of sacred mysteries who is symbolic of human understanding as well as faith. His knowledge is esoteric and he has authority over things unseen. And favorable traits conferred by this card are self-assuredness and insight. Unfavorable traits include moralizing, bombast, and dogmatism. All right. Total copy-paste job here on this particular boilerplate piece of information for the tarot. Not altogether uncommon. It's often the case. Sometimes they will button it with a little bit of a relation to say this is something that this particular individual should try to strive for, or it encapsulates them in one particular way or another, but not here for you. So let's see if I can pick up on that for you. All right, the Hierophant, or the priest in more conventional terms, for representing authority over things seen and unseen, and esoteric knowledge there. For positives of self-assuredness and insight, the likes of which I certainly pick up on based on the breakdown, all right? The self-assuredness, I'm sure, gains, I'm sure one gains and is innate if you are going by the experience of things that you are taking with you. Also seeing the dynamic shifts in everything else. A lot of people aren't used to living life that way. So I'm sure there is an innate sense or a knowledge that you gain from experiencing life in that way. And let's see, besides that which you possess, having knowledge of and employing the darker aspects of humanity, all right? You might be applying those darker aspects. A lot of people don't have too much experience with that, even if they may think they do. It's not really all that dark, all right? So if you do have these experience these darker aspects, or you employ them, I would say that lends even more credence to you having authority over things unseen, all right? What else do they say here? You're also said to be granted magnetic influence by Neptune, said to dissolve barriers and absolute and rigid natures. That's something I brought up in the numbers of planets there, but it is something that's said to belong to Neptune, and so I could see that being part of this bombast and dogmatism as a negative type thing. Maybe you're out there trying to relay your knowledge. I would say that's the positive versus the negative of preaching it and expecting people to follow you, all right? So it's rather apt in those regards, I would argue. So be sure that if you have that magnetic attraction or influence on people, in order to dissolve those barriers between you or just them and absolute rigid natures, make sure you're doing so responsibly, I would say. All right, that said, that's been your tarot. So let's move on to your health. All right, here, let's see if I can rally my notes a little bit better. I probably didn't make the most sense. All right, here we go. Many born on March 5 are subject to dramatic mood swings. Hey, we heard that. And emotional fluctuations. They must grapple with negative feelings in particular and learn not to inflict them on those they love. In cultivating personal willpower and self-control, they will invariably aid their physical health as well. Usually very opinionated about matters of medical interest or health subjects. Those born on this day tend to be hard to advise or convince. Therefore, it is of the greatest importance that they have a physician whom they respect and trust to guide them. March 5 people are no strangers to the They're no strangers to the pleasures of the table and the bed, all right? Which, though a healthy indication of vitality, must be moderated not only for their sake, but also for their partner's sake. Severely restricting or eliminating alcohol, nicotine, sugar, or other stimulants may be necessary. And it is crucial that March 5 people realize that they may in fact have less to fear from the world than from their own defenses. And the true danger for them that one needs tending to is often internal. All right, a little bit of a hiccup, if you like. Had to make a swallow, went down the wrong pipe there for a second. Any event, let's dive in with what I had to say about the health here. You're subject to dramatic and small emotional fluctuations, apparently. Subject are swings, not small. So they may be small, who's to say. But dramatic swings in emotional fluctuation. You're also said to battle negative emotions. So a recommendation to cultivate self-control for mental and physical well-being is mentioned in the health. This doesn't come up all together all too often in this particular period, but it has risen up. Not necessarily the swings in mood, but that mental, physical well-being being tied to other such aspects. With high opinions and knowledge, you may be a hard sell with medical advice, they mentioned. This has popped up too once in a while. Not uncommon in this period, but a rather rare occurrence. All right, so this also extends to vitality linked to food and sex, which seemed to make stifle me a little bit there. I don't know why. Maybe because we're in the bedroom. I thought it was kind of funny there. Usually I can contain that, but not today, apparently. So moderation for your partner's sake in that respect. That is a novel first. Okay, pretty interesting idea there. Stimulants and drugs and cutting those out. It's a rare inclusion, but it does pop up once in a while, specifically for Neptune a lot of times. Neptune folks are said to have their head up in the clouds, rules dreams and visions and illusions, if you like. You don't need help in that arena, I think is what they try to say a lot of times, because you're ruled by the Neptune now. So also those types of things come up because they might affect someone's heart. Though the lymphatic system is the Pisces body area, so I wouldn't say that that's too big of an influence there. But for, say, Capricorn, that was a pretty big deal with the stimulants and the drugs, if you like. That said, what else do we have here? The self-defenses and dangers of the world being a novel inclusion for health, all right? And I say that because that's the kind of thing that's normally placed in the breakdown. So it was interesting that this came up, though I would say your mental health is just as important or a fundamental aspect of such things. So it's understandable why they put it in the health entry. That said, that's been your health, so let's move on to some advice. All right, here we go. Your advice: regulate your energy and don't be driven by it. You wag the tail, not the other way around. Keep your priorities straight and be a bit nicer to yourself. All right. Very, what would you say, succinct advice, but I would say it's pretty valuable. A lot of things that we've already pretty much gone over. But what I have to say about what they had to say. All right, bear with me. My writing's tiny. It's in the book here. They said regulate your energy, but don't let it drive you. Okay, I'd say specifically important if the drive is of a darker nature. All right, that hell aspect's coming into your life for a little bit, or those precious few seconds where you don't need it. So try to be self-aware and know how to regulate it in such circumstances. Which I could say could probably be especially tricky if friction fuels your creative fires. All right. And I think sometimes we just need to know when to drop that particular pack and cultivate those strengths from within ourselves, not the situation that begets them. It just takes time and experience, but you're going to have those experiences, I'm sure, and then you have that knowledge as the Hierophant to bestow upon others. All right, what else they have here? You may maybe find a way to reconcile who's in control of things, insofar as that you wag the tail, not the other way around. So, the book seems to be more focused on you're falling susceptible to energies directing your actions. So yeah, find that way to reconcile who's in control. All right. You only stand to benefit if you reclaim such influences, I would say. So don't let the darkness win. All right. What else do we have here? Keep priorities straight and try to be nicer to yourself. All right. Again, don't let the darkness in on things or let it get to you too much. All right. I would use it like a tool, all right, for your own benefit, for the creative impetus there, if you like. But then leave it after that's helped you get started, I would say. It can be used as a tool to drum up motivation too when it's needed, but I would say learn how to modify those particular things. Find out how to get that motivation without having to go dark. Sometimes it's needed to kind of get that boot, up in your rear end there to get you going. But I would say once you learn how to do that without it, leave it. And what else they have here? Those you can lean in on the heaven part instead of the hell sometimes, I would say. Though the hell part's probably a little bit easier sometimes, or we're lent to lean into it. But again, the heaven part there is there also, so learn to find it, I would say. In the event, that's been your advice, so let's move on to your meditation. All right, your meditation here. Most children think that they are devils who play at being angels, when very often it is the reverse that is true. All right, a little bit of a mouthful today, not the typical meditation. So let's say one more time here for you. Most children think that they are devils who play at being angels, when very often it is the reverse that is true. All right. Your birthday, your meditation, I'm not going to throw my spin or interpretation on it for you. It kind of defeat the purpose now, wouldn't it? So there you go, your meditation. I actually like that one for you. It seems pretty on point. Any event, your meditation in a can, as it were. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up that emotionally objective mirror and find out where we got the girth and where otherwise maybe a little bit more atrophied, if you like, within the metaphor. All right, your strengths, you're expressive, you're polished, and you're incisive. All right, I like it. But your weaknesses, let's hold up that emotionally objective mirror, but flip it to the side that shows off, maybe the things you're otherwise a little more superficially insecure about in a darker way of thinking, if you like. That's right, your weaknesses. Okay, it says you're difficult. We kind of picked up on that, didn't we? That's not news. Temperamental. Hey, isn't that a little bit like difficult? Okay, all right, so kind of two. And you're suffering. All right. Hey, I think we picked up on that one as well. Oftentimes I like to make a case that our strengths and our weaknesses, our weaknesses can be overcome by our strengths. There was one day about 2-3 months back, the word impulsive came up as a strength, and the very next day traded to a weakness. So I got myself thinking, why are things so disconnected between one day? What's a couple minutes make a difference in an individual? That said, I think it just depends on the situation and the individual with regard to weaknesses. I also think, we can use our strengths to overcome our weaknesses, all right? It says you're expressive, polished, and incisive. Incisive being intellectually analytical and clear of your thinking. You know what? When it comes to being difficult, temperamental, and suffering, I think you're going to find a way through, all right? You're going to be able to express yourself, maybe with yourself or with others, if you're bringing others in to help you rally against these weaknesses. Polished, you're going to do so in a unique way, accomplished way, I would think, because it takes time and effort to polish such things, even in a tangible or intangible way. And incisive, hey, you're intelligently analytical. You're going to break things down and figure out what needs to be done to overcome your weaknesses, I would say, and have a clear mind about it. You also have all this experience to draw from, whether it's dark or light, in order to bring yourself to the fore, I would say, to bring yourself out of such things. That said, difficult, temperamental, and suffering, how could those be strengths? Well, again, I think a lion's share of it leans into it being experience you can draw from and then get back out into the world and be the better for having overcome as much. Difficult, however, too, sometimes if you find yourself in a situation where someone else isn't giving up, you're just as difficult, they may be apt to finally give in. So I'd say that's a strength in that respect. However, as a weakness, obviously you're probably doing it a little bit too much, all right? And drumming up maybe some antagonisms from folks. They also brought up dogmatism or bombast in the tarot there as a weakness. It might become that fact that they said, or that I think I brought up anyhow, where you're starting to impart your knowledge like it is, gospel. And you know what? That's apt to arouse antagonism, all right? Make you look a little bit too difficult if you're like in a really bad way, all right? Nobody's going to want to listen to you at that point. So be difficult, but know how to be difficult, all right? And it just takes the experience that you're going to gain from that. Temperamental as well. Hey, you know what? I like to bring up the boardroom example, or you're at the job and they want to give you a project. Hey, you know what? Maybe we use our weaknesses as strength insofar as making ourselves appear like the individual who they shouldn't be giving it to. Temperamental, you change every few seconds in your cubicle. You know, you're getting angry, getting sad, just pulling your hair out at one moment and then slicking it back at the next. You know, they're all right, we're going to give it to the guy across the way. There you go. A little unsavory to be drilling down on your weaknesses in that respect as a strength, but I think it stands as a good example regardless, all right? That said, suffering as a weakness. Hey, you know what? We have to find the gold down there in the depths, even if there's a beast guarding it, all right? And we're going to suffer the bends, perhaps, and have to live our life in a hyperbaric chamber for a few days to get them nitrogen bubbles out of the blood. But you know what? Hey, we're all the richer for it, aren't we? Because we found a treasure, defeated a beast, within a metaphor, okay? We have to suffer sometimes. And also, a lot of the times, it's the humor in life that comes from said suffering. And you also have so much more knowledge to impart on other people because you experience the things that they can't even necessarily imagine. So, huge strength, I would say. But as a weakness, you might be letting it get to you a little bit too much, all right? So don't let the darkness envelop you to the point where you just fall into a deep, dark depression and you can't rally yourself out of. I would say that's where it's a weakness. So use it for what it can do to benefit you, I would say, all right? Not the best case for my strengths and weaknesses argument, but it's actually been an improvement over, say, the past week. So in any event, I think you get the idea, your strengths and weaknesses. That said, I often also like to say don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether because they're a part of who you are, all right? That said, your strengths and weaknesses having been relayed, let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, maybe we can get more examples for how the breakdown may apply. We see like some celebrity we recognize, like, oh, they were a dark and polished individual, that kind of thing. But I think what's even more important, something I like to do here, is look at this as an opportunity to maybe find some inspiration to start chasing after our passions. Because a lot of times we get out in the world and ask folks what to do, and more importantly, if they like it. And a lot of times they don't. So I think a lot of times folks aren't chasing after something fulfilling in life. They're just stuck at a job or the humdrum kind of the rote goings on of life one day to the next. And I don't think that's any way to live when you could be chasing a passion. So if there's anything I can wish you on your birthday, it's that we can find some way to inspire you to get out there and start finding something fulfilling in life. And you know what? Maybe we can do as much by learning about other people that share your company and what they accomplished, all right? So let's dive into it with that in mind, figuring out all passions based on who shares our company. All right, we have Pier Paolo Pasolini, an Italian film director of the Decameron and the Arabian Nights, also a poet, novelist, and responsible for Ragazzi de Vida, also a critic, and murdered by a 17-year-old male pickup, it says. Not quite sure what that means, but we can imagine with our darker nature there, if we like. Any of it. Moving on, we have Rex Harrison, the British film, stage, musical comedy actor, Professor Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady, and 6 marriages, it says. So we have an example or a little bit of, some precedents set for these stormy relationships aspect there. And even moving on, we also have Zhao Enlai, a Chinese premier, Rosa Luxemburg, the German socialist leader and left-wing Spartacus movement founder. We also have Lady Augusta Gregory, Dublin's Abbey Theatre co-founder with W.B. Yeats. We also have Charles Fuller, the Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright of A Soldier's Play. Giovanni Battista Tiepolo, an Italian late Baroque painter. Dean Stockwell, the film actor. We also have Heitor Villa-Lobos, a Brazilian national composer. Elaine Page, a British musical comedy star responsible for, or part of a little production by the name of Cats. We also have Wang Zi Qi, Qi perhaps, Chinese writer of Wild Jasmine short stories. We also have Josephine Herbst, a journalist and writer of Pity Is Not Enough, which was a trilogy apparently. Lynn Margulis, a biologist, editor, writer of Five Kingdoms, and SET theory proponent. We also have Willis Allen Ramsey. Let me move the book here so I'm staying frame. Was a singer-songwriter, and Samantha Eggar, a British film actress. And we also have Eugene Fodor, or Fodder perhaps, a violinist. Randy Matson, a U.S. Olympic gold medal winning shot putter. We also have Fred Williamson, a film actor. Frank Norris, writer of The Octopus. And King Henry II, the British Plantagenet king. Plantagenet. Not quite sure what that one is. Hopefully I pronounced it right. That said, I think I may have mispronounced a few names, so let's butcher some things on my side of things to make up for it. It's not done in malice. It's just hooked on phonics isn't the most useful tool for pronouncing names. That said, I know it's a big ask, tall order to take inspiration from other people's accomplishments, but hey, maybe me just putting the bug in your ear about as much. Hope you start stirring up the fires to start chasing after something fulfilling, all right? Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're carving out time, putting in the energy to figure out such things so that you can be doing backflips out of bed in the morning to get on and in with your day or whatever you find fulfilling, all right? So that said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading, except to say your season is winter, your sign once again is Pisces, of the Pisces II period specifically, and your quality and elements is mutable water. And this has been March 5th, the day of heaven and hell. From The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description, right above a personal message I like to put together for the birthday boys and girls, ladies and gents. So if you're interested in giving that a look-see, take a look. But if you're interested in picking up the book, you support the channel in the bargain. And this thing's going to make an excellent coffee table book if you're ever in the market of needing something to help you break the ice at, say, a party, or if you have company over. This thing's going to get it done in that regard. All right, that's how it was introduced into my world. I've been all the better for it. That said, the book, not altogether all too important. No, not when it's somebody's birthday, all right? So what's important around these here parts, once again, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday, all right? So happy birthday. Don't let the influences of the heaven and hell influence you too much, and if they do, just take it in stride, learn from it, so that you can apply it later down the line. That deep, dark depth, or deep, experience, if you like. Be the Hierophant so you can impart said knowledge for other folks, all right? That said, for everybody else who joined us today, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourselves, took something of value, even though it wasn't your birthday specifically, and that you join us on your birthday, all right? But lest I forget before I take us out, that's right, your daily numbers, your 5 and your 1 for a 6. You were number 5 days, so we got a little bit of synchronicity going in there. That said, I know it's a big-ass tall order to get out there and start letting the universe show you what's in your path, but hey, just open yourself up to it even a little bit, and you might just start to see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, or feel even just a little bit of the magic out there for you, all right? Just be open to it is all I'm saying, and at the very least, getting some steps in. All told, I just want to take a moment to thank you for the pleasure of your time and let you know it was a privilege to celebrate your birthday with you. All right, so thank you for joining us today. But for everybody else, like I said, I hope to see you for your birthday reading. All right, so get up out of the depths. Don't let the dog or the tail wag the dog. All right, and you got this, I would say. All right, and keep looking for that treasure, even if you have to dive in past the monsters, all right? Take care of yourselves, and once again, happy birthday.